Good morning everyone, Tater here, welcome to Tater Games. Today we are talking about the Unity Asset Store. So, stick around and we shall discuss the ups and downs and good stuff and bad stuff and personal experience, and I'm just going to keep listing stuff while the intro goes on. Dibblebots, doodickies, damages, doodlations, tribularity. I think that's about it. Anyway, the Unity Asset Store is a great, lovely place which everybody loves, except for people out there who claim that, oh, I've never used the Unity Asset Store, it's rubbish, it's stupid, the assets are terrible. And to all those Unreal users that just said that, well, let's take a look at some good things about the Asset Store. The first thing is that it actually caters to those who do not know how to do certain aspects of a game. They have everything from scripts to 3D models to music, and it's just an amazing place to get all those stuff. Now, if you suck at one thing, then yes, there are ways to cheat around it, like I keep trying to explain to you guys. There are ways to work around the things that you are bad at. However, in the Unity Asset Store, you can get anything you need pretty much from there, and you can make an entire game without actually making much of the game yourself. This is particularly handy when you're starting out for the first time and you don't know what to do, and using assets is kind of a little bit more inspiring than trying to create stuff from scratch yourself. If you create everything from scratch yourself, hey, good on you, man, good on you. But for those who don't, or those who cannot, it's a great place to go to actually get the stuff that you really, really desperately need. Now, there's a bit of iffiness to it because the asset store, of course, is used by everyone. And if you start using assets that somebody else is using in their game and the two games get published, then you're going to see a lot of people that claiming, oh my god, I've seen these before, this must be a Unity game. Hence Unity's terrible, terrible name when it comes to these asset flip games. For example, all the Slenderman clones, all the, horror games, it pretty much kind of sticks with horror games. I haven't heard of another game that has used it before, another genre. Maybe you guys have. If you guys have, down there, mate, comment down there. I'm a firm believer that yes, you should use it if you really desperately need it. It's not a place that you go, it's a guilty pleasure of mine to just browse through the asset store and try and find some really cheap stuff that I can use in my games. And I've used it in pretty much every game I've ever made. I've used at least one asset. And it's usually an artsy asset, so, it's not particularly something to be proud of. But hey, we all have to do it eventually, and to those out there who say, I've never used the asset store, you are a bloody liar. Do not let these professionals fool you. They were in your shoes once, and they will say all this random bull to try and convince you that you need to be doing something a certain way, when really it's open book. It's an open book. In supporting the people that actually use the asset store, it is sort of, there are rules that you need to take so that your game does not appear as an asset flip game and get demoralized and then get shut down by people saying, ooh, this game is terrible. Well, there are ways around that. You can, of course, go for those assets that nobody purchases, which is a great way to ensure that nobody else will be using it and that it will be kind of yours until somebody else buys it. But of course, these assets that don't get purchased are usually, not the best. So you want to go for something kind of good looking and that has very few reviews, because you cannot check how many downloads an asset has, I believe. Don't take my word for it. In fact, I'm going to check it right now. Apparently you can actually check how many downloads there was. I never had known that before. So I guess that's the solution. The ultimate solution is to check how many downloads the software actually has and then check the reviews. If the reviews are high in comparison to the downloads, then you're going to notice that that asset is quite valuable in these people's sort of minds. If they have used it in another game, then you don't want to sort of go into that area. One of the biggest assets that I've seen so many times was the horror environment Manor, I think it was, which I found to be extremely good looking, and I never downloaded it because there were just so many downloads for it, and I'm like, you know what, there are going to be a million games out there that use this exact same asset. I don't even want to look at it. Of course, this usually applies to the visual side of things. Nobody's really going to notice a sound that was used in other games, although yeah, I guess they could. I remember seeing a video game that had, I think, it had the sound to... Has anyone seen Everything Wrong With? or CinemaSins, I think it's called. In that, there's this little ding, 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 and that was actually used in a game, and I noticed it just through memory. I watch a lot of YouTube. Yeah, another guilty pleasure right there. So the idea is finding assets that are not particularly common being used, hasn't got many downloads, and finding good ones as well. A lot of them can often trick you into thinking that they look a certain way, but this is with extremely good rendering. You don't want to fall for that, and the way you can usually tell is if you don't see a video of it. You really want to see a video of the game that's actually being made. And yes, they may use post-processing in those videos, but you really want to find the ones with the videos. It gives you a much better understanding of what the package actually comes with. And always read the description. Sometimes there are assets in the showcase of it that aren't actually in the package. They are from the asset store somewhere else, or they've made it for a completely separate package. You really want to be careful of those, especially if you're spending money on it. And I usually go into the asset store with sort of a budget that you're looking at. So if I have a spare $20 and I'm like, you know what, I want to make something, I'm going to grab this, this, and this. Okay, so I have enough to spend on this, and then you just work it sort of out yourself. But $20 is quite a good standpoint for me because it's not too much, it's not too little, so you can't get good stuff. You can get good stuff. In fact, 2 assets worth $10 is actually quite good. And they'll usually cover the stuff that I really suck at. For example, 3D models, and skyboxes are another great use of the asset store. It's just something that you don't necessarily have time for, and you should always go into using assets thinking that you will one day replace them if the game gets popular enough, or if the game does well. Then you should really go into it thinking that, hey, one day I will actually replace this, so it doesn't matter too much that it is an asset. You want to own 100% of the game, and eventually you'll get to that point. You can guarantee a lot more benefits by making the entire game yourself, but the asset store is great for those who of course need those things. So another tip, if you are like me, you probably have made a million games before, none of which are published. I have thousands and thousands on my hard drive in which I start a project for a very short amount of time, and then I don't actually continue on that project. Now, the idea behind buying a package purely for one project, I think, is just ridiculous, because you're wasting your money on something that you could potentially give up. So if you are wanting to buy an asset off the asset store, it's best to buy something that can be used in multiple games. For example, if you're going with like a steampunk game or something like that, you don't want to buy a steampunk package that has extremely steampunk visuals or something like that. You want to go with something that is less steampunky, sort of industrially, and you can actually use it in a whole bunch of other stuff. You don't want to be limited to these certain themes just because you had decided to purchase a package which was expensive and you know you have to use it. Make sure all the packages you buy are very diverse. For example, I made that mistake a long time ago. If I go through my history of what I've actually downloaded, you guys might be surprised. In fact, it might be a little bit interesting to find out. So one of the first packages I ever purchased was the Industrial District package, and that I purchased specifically for our MOBA game that we were making, and quite frankly, I haven't used it since. Therefore, was it worth it? Probably not. Now, if we keep going up, we can see that I've actually learned from my mistakes, and I have gone with the NGUI package, or Next Gen UI. And now this package can be used in so many games. I mean, a GUI package, it's bloody amazing. And yes, I have used it for multiple projects, and it has been very handy for me. Understanding how the package works and understanding what you can do with it is very good. Now, the further we go up, the more I learn that you shouldn't buy specific themed packages. I've got Ultimate First Person Shooter here, which is very handy. And if we scroll up a little bit more, I mean, I've got all these free ones, which doesn't really matter if you download the free ones. I mean, you're not paying for it. I've got iTween. Actually, no, I didn't pay for that one. Did I? I'm not even sure if it's worth something. Here's where I kind of went wrong. Now, the one thing you never want to do is purchase characters. Characters, unlike environments, should always be specific to your game. Remember, your game needs characters that are towards your game. They are what drive the story to your game. They are what hold the information. If you're going to download characters online, it really defeats how unique your game will become, because generally making the characters are what people play as. The characters are things that people are, and having these characters inside that are from the asset store, especially if other people have the ability to use it, you do not want that. When it comes to characters, everything should be 100% yourself because, again, it's story driven. The characters are what drive the story. If there is a story, if there isn't a story, it even applies even more to it, because then if characters are playing multiplayer games and you want things customized, and everything needs to be specific to your game. Remember, the cover of your game is not going to be a tree or a forest or anything like that. It may be a forest, but it will often have a character, a creature, a thing in there that is a representative of your game. And if you look at games throughout history, they always have this character. So characters are things that you should never buy on the asset store. And this is not, again, crap in the face of those who make character assets for the asset store. I'm sorry to you guys, but it's just a waste of time, because you shouldn't really be selling things that are kind of taking the uniqueness away from people's video games that they're making. And of course there's me, stupid as ever, decides to buy a few characters for his MOBA game, realizing that this was a big mistake, and of course never using them again because I was buying characters for a very specific game. I don't think I'll ever use them ever again. This package I've used so much because it's just got so much to offer, which is called the Magic Arsenal, and the entire package is pretty much a whole bunch of spells, and they keep adding to it, which is my final tip. Find things that they are going to continue adding stuff towards, because the more they add to it, of course, and they start working on it, and then it may have a lot of downloads because of this, but you'll notice that people often won't use every single asset from this package. So if they see the same particle system in 2 games, they're not going to make an assumption that they're part of the same package. You really want to limit the amount of the package that you use. You do not want to 100% use the entire package that you buy, especially when it comes to environments. You can buy 2 environment packages and only take a few select things from each one, and then use them in different ways, different biomes, or even mix them up together so that they blend together, and nobody is going to tell, oh, that's an asset from the asset store, unless of course you get those real detective-y people who are going to go into your game and then inspect the tree and go, oh, I've seen this texture before. Anyway, that's it from me today. I'm going to go ahead and produce something. I need to make something. I haven't made something for a while. Hopefully tomorrow, if I have made something, you guys will get to see it, and I'll take you through the entire process. I really like that making a game for $0 video. That was probably one of the most fun things I've ever made. Anyway, you guys should go and work on your projects, and hopefully today you get some decent progress done. I love to see it, and of course you can always message me on Discord, as I say every single time. I do not mind. DM me, private message me, whatever. Whatever it takes you guys to show me your stuff, because I really love seeing you guys' stuff, and I've been getting amazing motivational messages, of people saying that they're taking uni because of me, they're now working for companies because of me, and it's cool. I'm making a difference on a very small scale. It's extremely lovely to hear. Anyway, you guys go ahead, have yourself a productive day. Me too, I'll have myself a productive day. It's a promise, and I'll see you tomorrow when we talk about... Actually, you know what? We don't have a topic for tomorrow. Hopefully I find one in time. So I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.